Hey mages, welcome to today's Budget MTG Arena video today. Today I've got some zero rare Phyrexia standard decks for you. These decks are really good if you're looking for something else to play, because we know the economy on MTG Arena is a little bit rough. It is definitely a lot harder for me, I think, to get rare wildcards and mythic wildcards to build up your collection. So if you're stuck playing just maybe the 1-2 decks in your collection, because that's what the cards you have to play, these are a little bit easier to put together. You can take them to the ladder in the early stages without a doubt. They're very good competitive zero rare decks for me. Like I said, all three are aggro decks and they have zero rares. So just full of commons and uncommons that hopefully you will have built up in your collection, or are just basically a little bit easier to craft and a little bit easier on the wallet, shall we say. So without further ado, let's get to the first deck. So the first aggro deck I've got for you is a mono black aggro. These are based on, it's easier when some decks are mono because of the land base. You don't have to craft any rare lands or anything like that. You just need your 22 swamps that you will have in the game already, which is why this is great for budget players or new beginner players to MTG Arena. So we have a really good creature package like all three of these decks do. 26 creatures in this deck with 12 non-creature spells, and a CMC average of 1.9. That is really, really low. As you can see over here from the breakdown as well, there is 8 instants and there is 3 artifacts, 4 enchantments, and obviously 26 creatures, 22 lands. No sorceries in this one, which is, not needed for this deck. So we're going to have a look at the creatures. We have a low curve. Starting with our 1-drops. This 1/1 Bilious Skull Dweller does multiple things for us. So turn 1, it has a death touch. As you can see, great to get down early and start the toxic beat down if we can. Now, we're not toxic decks, but this is just a really good card. So when you're looking to trade off and there might be a really hard creature to deal with, even late game putting a death touch creature onto the battlefield will trade off with the majority of creatures, as long as they don't have indestructible, of course. But this will trade off and can sometimes act as a removal spell. But if we get in our open hand and we can get some free attacks in, we get some toxic damage in as well. Another really good 1-drop here because it's a 2/1, so higher stats on this one, Cult Conjurer, but it does come in tap, so you are paying a price for getting that really good 2/1 creature. And as you can see, it's got a lot of text on this one as well. Pay 2, you return it to the graveyard to the battlefield, only if a non-skeleton creature died this turn as well. So it's a recurring threat for us and one that we would like to keep in the graveyard to bring back as well. Attacking graveyards seems good at the moment with the Traxxas decks and everything like that. So Ashnod's Harvester is a really good budget card for us. 3/1, whenever it attacks, we can exile a target card from a graveyard. And it also has Unnerve, so even when it dies, we can bring it back from the graveyard, attack potentially again. It'd be asking too much for a 2-mana 3/1 that does abilities to have haste, but it would have been nice. But yeah, it probably would have just been a little bit too good then. But yeah, this is a really sweet card, and I've always liked this one from the Brothers' War as well. And then we got some more 2-drops here. We got 4 of the Vampire Interloper. Flying, nice bit of evasion. Can't block, but we're not looking at blocks. We're just looking at attack with these sort of decks. And this is 2/1 stats as well for 2. And then we have Vengeful Strangler. This has, this card does a lot for you. It's a 2/1 that can't block as well. But we're not, like I said, we're not interested in blocking with this type of deck. When it dies, returns to the battlefield transformed. Under your control attached to a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. And it comes in as the Strangling Grasp. Gasp? I gasped. Enchant creature or planeswalker opponent controls. Beginning of your upkeep, permanent's controller sacrifices a non-land permanent. And if they don't, they lose 1 life. So helps with the aggro theme and doing damage as well. We've still got lots more creatures. Fellstinger has Death Touch. We can exploit cards like Cult Conscript because we can get it back potentially as well. So we can draw those 2 cards. And like the colour of Black in Magic usually does, you usually get some pain for doing some things and we lose 2 life. But drawing 2 cards is really good. And Phyrexian Rager comes in, draws a card just by entering the battlefield. And then we get drained for a life as well. So our creatures and stuff can actually help our opponents and killers, but we need this to benefit us. We potentially get the better end of the stick by drawing cards and stuff like that. The last creature is a 2 of Diagraph Scavenger, another one with Death Touch, so we'll be trading off potentially with a lot of creatures as well, which is good. We can attack in knowing that we've got, if they want to block, we potentially are going to kill something as well, even if it has bigger stats than ours. When this ends the battlefield, exile up to one target card from the graveyard. Hopefully it's a creature card, because then we drain our opponent and we gain a couple of life. So, we have ways in this deck to attack graveyards, which seems really good in this meta as well. The other spells in the deck is the removal, 4 off cut down, and then we have 4 go for the throat as well. And then we have 4 Akiba that can turn into a 2/2 menace creature. We don't run the vehicles, but it has that drain effect, and this can gain us a little bit of life back to help with the card draw that we've got in those creatures that I have previously spoke about that will drain us. This will help us get a little bit of that life back as well. We get 2 triggers of that, and we have 4 of these in there as well. Mono Black Aggro is always a very popular deck when I put this on the channel with 0 rares, and people have done really well with it. So this is the first deck of the aggro series of this video, and now we're going to get on to the next one. Now we go mono white aggro. Yet again, 22 basic lands, very good and easy to craft, obviously. This one has a whopping 30 creatures and has 8 non-creatures and the same CMC average of 1.9. As you can see, this has, this is heavy on creatures. So we'll be very good against Wraths in this one, because we have half our deck as creatures. 4 instants, 6 artifact spells, 4 enchantments as well. So let's take a look at the deck. We'll go through our creatures because we have so many of them. This has a good, a little bit of toxic in as well with Crawling Chorus that is good because we get, early play, getting in that little attack, and when it dies, it replaces itself with a creature that can't block, but it's another 1/1 might that can do toxic damage as well. Yoshi and Frontliner attacks another target creature card, gets +1/1, so we can pump something up potentially. We have double strike creatures in here in this deck as well, so this card is very good, and also has the Unearth theme, so it can come out and do it again as long as it's not taken away from our graveyard. And we have a full 4 of these, and 4 Crawling and 4 Recruitment Officer. This is our, bit like in the mono black deck. This is just an automatic better creature. They remember Constrict come in tapped. This doesn't, and has an ability of paying for. Look at the top 4 cards. You'll reveal a creature card with mana 3 or less and put it into your hand. Now, as you can see, that's every single creature in the deck. So this is a very good deck. We don't have actual card draw in the deck, but this on the field can help us go through and find what we need. Then we go to our 2 mana creatures. We have really good double strike creatures in Twin Blade Geist that will come back and enchant another creature with the disturb cost and give something else double strike as well, which is pretty cool. And the Jawbone Duelist, really good. Toxic again, double strikes, you're going to hit them twice and do double toxic. If we can pump this up as well, there's extra more damage, which is really good. And it's a 1/1 for 2. And it's definitely, from Phyrexia, one of the best uncommons for me in the set as well. We go to some other creatures here. Cathar Commando, utility creature that can come in, flash at end of turn 3/1, get more attacks in, or can be destroying artifacts or enchantments. And that's in there just as a couple of. And then we go to our 3-drop creatures. We have a few here, starting off with Annex, helps with a little bit of control and has a toxic theme as well. Exile target creature opponent controls with value 3 or less until this leaves the battlefield. Good stats with this. It's a 1/4, will be blocking for days, hopefully, and has the toxic ability as well. Distracting Geist, another one that can come back with Disturb. When it attacks, I can't speak today. When the Geist attacks, tap target creature defending player controls. Doesn't matter how many times I record that, I'm going to get it wrong, so I'm keeping it in there. This is a 2/1, has the disturb cost, and this can come back whenever this creature attacks target creature defend. I just can't say that, can I? Whenever this creature attacks, tap target creature defending player controls. God, imagine trying to say that after a few drinks. Everyone that is old enough to drink watching the video. If Clever Distraction would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. So we have a couple of disturb cards in there. And the last one we're talking about is Gavely Dawnguard, 3/3 ward 1. Night or day, you get to flip it. When it flips, you may reveal a creature card with mana 3 or less from among them and put it into your hand. And that's another way, like the Recruitment Officer that we have, and will potentially grab any creature card. Wow, this deck has some names that I'm really struggling with today. Then we go on to the few spells that we have. Deadly Riposte, I like for a little bit of life gain, good against the mono red decks. They're very aggro as well. This does 3 damage to target tap creatures. You got to wait till they attack but then you do gain 2 life, and for 2 mana, that's pretty sweet. Destroy evil, enchantment removal, destroying creatures 4 or greater, Sheoldred, anything that's really hard for us to deal with. And then one of the best white cards printed from Phyrexia, Ossifications. Us budget players love this. Means we can pay 2 mana and exile a creature or a planeswalker, which is really, really good. So yeah, this is another really cool aggro deck. Slightly different, bit more toxic in this one, and has, a bit of life gain removal, and has different ways of going through your deck. So, different to the mono black one, but hopefully still as good and still as consistent as winning, some good games for you. So without further ado, let's get on to the last deck. So we couldn't have an aggro deck without having a mono red. And yesterday's stream, actually, I was asked, is there a mono red deck they can play with 0 rares? And I had this one ready built, so hopefully they're coming back and watching the video today. This has 20 lands, just the 20 lands. As you can see, we have an absolute plethora of 1-drops here. So the CMC is 1.3 on this. Now, the others two were low at 1.9, but this is 1.3. 20 creature spells and 20 non-creature spells. So a lot, very much different to the other two, which are more heavily on the creatures. This will be relying on spells as well to get the wins and get the damage done. 8 instants, 8 sorceries, 4 artifacts, 4 enchantments, and just the 20 creatures in this. But we get very good creatures. One of the best, Monastery Swiftspear. Was reprinted, put back in, haste prowess. So this is why we have a lot more creature instants and sorceries in the deck, because we want to be triggering the prowess with this. Phoenix Chick, flying haste, can't block. We're not interested in blocking with this really, because it can't anyway. But when this attacks, if you've got 3 or more creatures, you may pay 2 and get it back. So it's a recursion creature as well, but then comes back with a 1/1 counter. So that is, always been a sweet card for me. The other creatures that we do have, a Reinforced Ronin, does get returned to your hand, but putting this down turn 1 and attacking for 2 straight away, getting that damage in is really good. And it doesn't stay on the field, so it's always going to be, they're going to have to remove it. It's always going to be coming back down potentially and getting some more damage in. Last 2 creatures that we have, Soulblade Scamp. Comes in whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put an oil counter on it. This has haste as well. You remove the counters and deal 1 damage to each opponent. So we have, like I said, 20 different types of non-creature spells in the deck, so we can build these up and tap at end of turn. You don't have to attack with this unless you get it turn 1, turn 2, where you've got a free pass. You build this up and just keep tapping it at end of turn and doing the damage to your opponents. The last creature we have is Riveteer's Requisitioner, 3/1. Creates a treasure token, which is nice. You can blitz this in and get a straight attack in, and when it dies, you get to draw a card as well. So another good aggressive creature that suits this deck. Now, the spells. A lot of spells. Kumano will turn into a creature after it gets to finish its 3rd law. 1 damage, turn 1 play good. Turn 2, this is what you want to play in your turn 1. If you've got like a Monastery Swiftspear potentially in hand, you could play that first and then this comes in. But if you've got like Phoenix and stuff like that, you'd play this first and then have the Phoenix potentially come in with a counter, or the Swordblade come in with a counter, because you're going to get the damage through, but then they're going to come in bigger and come down with haste with that extra 1/1. And then it will transfer into the Kumano, and then it's a 2/2 with haste, so more swinging and attacking. Pump it up, draw a card, potentially Ancestral Anger, can give our creature trample, which is good. More of these in the graveyard, the better for us. Then we go for damage. We got Play with Fire, 2 damage to any target. Scry 1, we got Lightning Strike, 3 damage to any target. Which obviously will all trigger the prowess on the Monastery Swiftspear and put those oil counters on the Scamp as well, so we can keep tapping more damage, more damage. This is what this deck is all about. Burn mono red. And then we have Reckless Impulse. Exile top 2 cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. So potentially you could get, even late game, this is good. You can maybe chain into some burn spells, get 2 burn spells, do 5 damage if we've got the Play with Fire and that, and get the win done and finish off your opponents. Mono red deck does play a little bit different to the other two. The other two really are getting creatures on and swinging. This one, ordering your cards with the Kumano to get more value, saving your burn maybe for creatures to get through the creatures, or, if you think you can just burn your opponent out to the dome, you keep them in hand, because, there's a lot of damage here in domage. There's 8 damage there in the 4 cards. There's 12 damage in the Lightning Strikes. There's another 4 with Kumano as well. So yeah, there's a lot of damage to the opponents without a doubt. So that has been the 3 budget 0 rare aggro decks today. Give them a go. Let me know in the comments, please. Let me know which ones you're going to try and how you've done with them. If you're using them for your dailies, which is still all good, or you're taking them to the ladder, and then hopefully you can put all 3 together, possibly if you can. So it, it changes it up and makes it, a bit more fun to arena, especially if you're just starting out as well, or if you're just bored of playing the same deck. This will give you 3 different decks that won't hopefully cost you too much to craft. If you enjoyed the video, it really does help out me and the channel if you give it a thumbs up, please, and subscribe if you enjoy it. Lots of budget content here and other content as well. If you want to go that big further, please take a look at my Patreon. I really do appreciate everyone that goes that that extra further for that. It does mean a lot, and thank you to everyone of the total MTG army that's in there. I'll just say enjoy the rest of your day. Hope you will be back for the next video, and I will see you very soon.